Chapter 12, Alone. The others didn't need him any more right now. Burdock tiptoed away to the farthest corner of the tool room, where the horse tack was kept. One of the horse blankets had fallen from its hook, and Burdock padded onto it, turned around, and lay down, his body a small gray circle. It was strange. He hadn't realized it until now, but he'd felt a little lonely while Figgy dug and the others helped and sang. He hadn't sung. Stationed by the barn doors at the front and separated from the others by the feed and tool rooms, Burdock had felt outside of the group, removed from their unit. He stood up to shift position, nestling in closer to the wall. Now he was all but hidden by the blankets hanging above. He closed his eye and thought back to a time when he had rested in this same spot not so very long ago. Remembering how he'd felt then, he blew out a big sigh, ruffling the long fur on his paws. When Burdock first arrived on the farm, dumped at the Baxter farm driveway, he didn't know where he was. He wandered for some time through the fields and around the pastures until he found the house. When a heavy door opened, Burdock tried to go in. "Whoa, where'd you come from?" said a voice, and a boot pushed him back out. "No cats here." But Burdock didn't know where else to go, and having no other plan, he stuck around. He was young, but bedraggled. As he'd roamed the spring fields, Burdock had quickly become covered in horrible sticky burdock burrs that latched on to his long fur. After a week, Grady took pity on him. The farmer collected the kitchen scissors and cut away the worst of the burrs, then brought the cat up to the barn. "Burdock, not easy to get rid of. That's your name now." Grady grunted. It was hard to tell, but there might have been a hint of a smile in his voice. "Now, make yourself useful. We've got mice." Of course, Burdock soon met the others in the barn. This was before Tick's arrival, but Nanny was as motherly as ever and did her best to welcome him. The others, too, though a little skeptical about this cat with great patches of fur missing, were none the less curious about the new arrival and made an effort to be friendly. Still, Burdock never had much opportunity to make friends, and he continued to feel like an interloper, so he mostly kept to himself. He settled into the feed room and slept a lot. The others figured Burdock liked it that way, and, unless he came to them, they usually left him alone, which worked out well until the day Burdock was injured. It was an early evening, and the sky was already lowering October's night curtain. Burdock was up in the orchard above the barn, watching for the mice that came to feast on the sweet fallen apples. Burdock was so absorbed with quietly stalking the mice that he failed to notice the nearly silent steps of a coyote stalking him. Burdock only saw the fast-moving blur when it lunged. Immediately he jerked to the side, and though the coyote's jaws clasped down on the side of his face, it was not a firm hold. Adrenaline took over. Burdock pulled back, twisted painfully away, and deftly leapt onto a nearby apple tree trunk. He fiercely scrabbled up out of reach. Burdock stayed the night in the branches of that tree, his eye swollen shut, the fur on his cheek matted with blood. Only when daylight finally came did he creep back to the barn, curl beneath the cabinet in the tool room, and sleep. 2 days went by, and none of the barn animals thought much of him. After all, Burdock regularly disappeared. They didn't know about Burdock's injury or that his wound had become infected. They didn't see that he was feverish, sicker than he'd ever been. But of course the farmers didn't think to look for the cat. As Burdock lay there, too sick to eat, listening to the animals talking and laughing, he felt, not for the first time, companionless. But this time it was different. A heavy loneliness settled in him like nothing he'd ever felt, pushing down on him like a hard stone. Though voices drifted over to him, they were not meant for him. It was the lowest he'd ever felt. He never wanted to feel this way again.